This isn't the end of a fight. This is the start of one.
What happened to my wife?
There has been an incident which we are solving.
You shake that tree until you find her.
The Lioness Season 3, Episode 2 trailer just confirmed the nightmare scenario that every fan feared after the premiere. Joe McNamara's cover is not just blown, it is shattered beyond repair, and the fallout is about to consume everyone around her. The promo for No Sorrow Like the Survivor raises questions that cut straight to the heart of what this season is building toward. Is Kaitlyn Meade genuinely scrambling to contain the crisis, or did she know the risks of the Yurimov mission and send Joe in anyway? Can Neal hold his family together after watching his wife kill 2 armed men on their front lawn in the middle of the night? Who sent the fake state police to Joe's home, and are they connected to the same people who kidnap her 6 months later in the flash forward that opened the season? Is the Ukrainian double agent who handed over Yurimov's location actually working against Joe, having used the mission itself to expose the entire Lioness program? And with the FBI now entering the picture, has this crisis already grown far beyond anything the CIA can control on its own? Every single one of those questions has an answer, and this breakdown covers all of them. The single most important moment in this Episode 2 trailer is the glimpse of Kaitlyn Meade in what appears to be full damage control mode. The official synopsis for No Sorrow Like the Survivor states that Kaitlyn races to contain a crisis spiraling across agencies, and the promotional images released by Paramount Plus show Nicole Kidman's character in settings that suggest she is operating at the highest levels of the intelligence community. That word, agencies, plural, is genuinely alarming. The Lioness program has always operated in the shadows, running missions that are borderline legal and rarely acknowledged by anyone outside a very tight circle of power. The fact that multiple agencies are now involved means the crisis has breached containment in a way that threatens not just Joe, but the very existence of the program. The good news is that Kaitlyn appears to still be fighting. The images show her engaged, strategic, and clearly working the political angles that have made her one of the most compelling characters in the series. However, unfortunately, the same promotional materials also tease FBI involvement, which suggests that whatever happened at Joe's home has triggered a domestic investigation that the CIA cannot simply bury. When Joe killed those 2 men on her front lawn in the premiere, she did not just eliminate a threat. She created a crime scene in a residential neighborhood that federal law enforcement cannot ignore, regardless of what classified program she belongs to. The second half of the Episode 2 synopsis is equally devastating. It states that Neal tries to steady rising fear at home. That single sentence carries more emotional weight than any action sequence in the trailer. Dave Annabelle's Neal has always been the emotional anchor of this series, a pediatric oncology surgeon who loves his wife, raises their daughters Kate and Charlie, and has spent 3 seasons watching Joe disappear into classified missions and come home carrying wounds she cannot explain. The Season 3 premiere shattered his understanding of their life completely. He watched Joe kill 2 armed intruders at their home. He stood in horror as the woman he married revealed a capacity for lethal violence that he knew existed in theory, but had never witnessed with his own eyes. The trailer suggests that Episode 2 will explore the immediate aftermath of that moment, a family that needs to relocate to a safe house, a husband who needs answers that Joe cannot fully provide, and children who may have heard gunshots in their own home. However, unfortunately, the most painful question facing Neal is not whether his family is safe. It is whether the life he thought he was living was ever real in the first place. Every conversation they have ever had about Joe's work, every excuse for late nights and sudden trips, every time she told him everything was fine, all of it now exists under a shadow that No Sorrow Like the Survivor appears ready to explore with devastating honesty. What makes this moment so painful for fans who have followed Neal's character is that he has never been naive. He is a pediatric oncology surgeon, a man who deals with death every day in his own profession. He has always known, on some level, that Joe's world is more dangerous than she admits. But knowing it abstractly, and seeing your wife execute 2 men in your front yard while your daughters sleep upstairs, are 2 entirely different realities, and the distance between them is where marriages either survive or die. The trailer suggests that episode 2 will force that conversation into the open in a way that neither Joe nor Neal can avoid. The most likely explanation for who sent the men to Joe's home leads directly back to the Yurimov extraction in Ukraine, and the evidence from the premiere makes this theory almost impossible to ignore. In episode 1, Joe and her team were sent into the war-torn trenches of Donetsk to capture Alexei Yurimov, the head of Russia's Special Tasks Department, a man described as Putin's hammer. The mission was not America's fight. A Ukrainian double agent who had infiltrated Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, approached Joe on Georgetown University's campus and offered Yurimov's location on a flash drive. The agent explained that Ukraine could not kill Yurimov without provoking catastrophic Russian retaliation, but if America took him off the board, it would simply be the game. Espionage as usual, with plausible deniability intact. Joe took the mission. The Lioness team, alongside Delta Force operatives, led by Sergeant Major Cody and the new K-9 handler Grady, fought through a hellscape of trench warfare, drone strikes, and North Korean combatants to extract Yurimov from a tunnel network beneath the front lines. The mission succeeded. The evidence strongly suggests that its success is exactly what triggered the attack on Joe's home. By capturing Putin's most valuable intelligence asset, Joe painted a target on herself that Russian intelligence would never let fade. The fake state police who arrived at her door spoke with Russian accents. The violence was professional and immediate. Every detail in the premiere points to Russian retaliation, but the question the trailer for episode 2 raises is whether the retaliation was aimed at Joe specifically or at the Lioness program as a whole. The mission itself was unlike anything the show has ever attempted. The battlefield was described by one of the Delta Force operators as what happens when World War I and Star Wars collide. Trenches filled with combatants, drones raining explosions from above, and tactical K-9 units tearing through enemy lines in a fog so thick that thermal imaging was the only advantage the team had. Joe and Cruz fought through that nightmare alongside Cody's Delta operators, identified Yurimov in a tunnel network, cut a tracker from his arm, and extracted him while the building behind them was leveled by drone strikes. The evidence suggests that an operation of that scale, in that theater of war, could not have gone unnoticed by Russian intelligence. The moment Yurimov disappeared from his position, every Russian asset in the world would have been activated to find him, and finding him means finding the people who took him. But that theory raises an even more dangerous question about the Ukrainian double agent. Fans watching closely will notice that the entire Yurimov mission only happened because a single unnamed woman handed Joe a flash drive on a university campus. The evidence from the premiere makes it clear that Joe herself was cautious about the offer. She recognized that accepting the intel meant the CIA was doing Ukraine a favor, and favors in the intelligence world are never free. The most logical conclusion is that the Ukrainian agent is not simply a whistleblower who wanted Yurimov removed. The evidence suggests she is an operative with her own agenda, and that agenda may include using Joe and the Lioness team as instruments for an operation far larger than anyone at Langley fully understands. If the Ukrainian agent is still active inside the SVR, she has access to exactly the kind of intelligence that could identify Joe: her name, her home address, her family. The evidence from the episode 2 trailer, which shows Caitlyn scrambling across agencies, strongly suggests that someone inside the intelligence chain has been feeding information to the wrong people. The most alarming possibility is that the Ukrainian agent deliberately set up the Yurimov extraction knowing it would expose Joe, because Joe's exposure serves a strategic purpose that benefits the agent's own handlers. The trailer makes it clear that the Lioness program has enemies it has not yet identified, and No Sorrow Like the Survivor appears to be the episode where those enemies start coming into focus. And if that theory proves correct, the consequences for the entire Lioness program are catastrophic. The Lioness program has always existed in a legal gray zone, female Marines and CIA operatives running covert missions that range from honeypot infiltrations to full-scale direct combat operations in foreign war zones, all under a classification level so deep that most of the government does not even know the program exists. The program survives because it stays invisible. The moment it becomes visible, the moment FBI agents start asking questions about a double homicide on a suburban front lawn committed by a CIA station chief, the political architecture that protects the program begins to collapse. Secretary of State Edwin Mullins, played by Morgan Freeman, has been the program's most powerful advocate, but even his influence has limits when domestic law enforcement gets involved. The evidence suggests that Episode 2 will show the tension between Caitlyn's desperate efforts to keep the program intact and the institutional forces that want answers she cannot provide without exposing everything. The trailer's emphasis on a crisis spiraling across agencies tells the audience that the walls are closing in from multiple directions simultaneously. CIA Deputy Director Byron Westfield, played by Michael Kelly, has always been Joe's most reliable institutional ally, alongside Caitlyn, but the evidence suggests that even Byron's position may be threatened by the scope of this breach. The Lioness program has survived scrutiny before. It survived the fallout from Season 1's terror financier operation and the Iran disaster in Season 2 that left Bobby, Tucker, Two Cups, and Tex all taking rounds. But those were overseas incidents that could be classified and compartmentalized. A double homicide in a Virginia suburb is a domestic crime, and domestic crimes generate police reports, forensic evidence, and media attention that no amount of classification can fully suppress. Every fan who has watched Caitlyn navigate the political corridors of power for 3 seasons will feel the weight of this moment, because this time, the problem cannot be solved with a classified briefing and a handshake. Joe killed 2 men in her own home, and the world outside the program is going to demand to know why. While the main crisis dominates the trailer, there is another storyline quietly unfolding in the background that every fan needs to pay attention to, and it belongs to Cruz Manuelos. Laisla de Oliveira's Cruz has evolved from a raw recruit in Season 1 into one of the most capable operatives in the Lioness program, and Season 3 represents a significant shift in her role. Critics who previewed the early episodes have noted that this season does not follow the traditional Lioness structure of recruiting and training a new agent. Instead, Cruz and the rest of Joe's Quick Reaction Force team, including Josie, Two Cups, Randy, Bobby, and Tex, are tasked with identifying and neutralizing a threat that has struck close to home. The evidence from the premiere shows Cruz fighting alongside Joe in the Ukraine extraction, but the trailer for Episode 2 hints at something deeper. The promotional images released by Paramount Plus feature members of the QRF team in what appears to be a tactical briefing setting, which suggests that the team is being redeployed not for an overseas mission, but for a domestic operation directly connected to the breach of Joe's cover. What makes this development significant is that Cruz has never operated on American soil in this capacity before. However, unfortunately, the evidence suggests that the threat to Joe is so severe and so personal that the traditional boundaries between foreign operations and domestic security have been erased entirely. The Lioness team may find itself hunting an enemy within its own borders for the first time, and Cruz's evolution from infiltration specialist to protective operative could define the entire trajectory of Season 3. The promotional materials for Episode 2 also raise a critical question about the timeline structure that Taylor Sheridan established in the premiere. The Season 3 opener began with Joe being kidnapped off a Virginia street by masked men while she was on the phone with Caitlyn, and then rewound 6 months to show how the crisis began. The episode ended with Joe killing the fake state police at her home and declaring that her cover was blown, but that home attack and the street kidnapping are clearly separated by months. The evidence strongly suggests that No Sorrow Like the Survivor takes place in the immediate aftermath of the home attack, which means the audience is watching events that occurred roughly 6 months before the kidnapping that opened the season. Every decision Joe makes in Episode 2, every alliance Caitlyn forms, every move the team executes, all of it is building toward the moment when someone finally gets close enough to take Joe off the street entirely. However, unfortunately, the audience already knows how that timeline ends, which gives every scene in Episode 2 an undercurrent of dread that no amount of tactical success can dispel. The question is no longer whether Jo gets kidnapped. The premiere already showed that she does. The question is, what happens between now and then that makes the kidnapping possible? And No Sorrow Like the Survivor appears to be the episode where the cracks in Jo's security begin to widen in ways that cannot be repaired. The title itself carries a devastating implication. Surviving is what Jo does. She survived the Ukraine trenches, she survived the home attack, she survived every mission the Lioness program has ever thrown at her. But the sorrow of survival is that it never ends. Every mission survived is another mission waiting, and the evidence from this trailer suggests that the weight of surviving is about to become heavier than anything Jo has carried before. The new character fans should be watching closely in this stretch of episodes is Ian Bohan's Grady. The Yellowstone veteran joins Lioness as a Delta Force K-9 handler who was introduced during the Ukraine extraction, and the premiere established him as a skilled, combat-hardened operator whose bond with his tactical dogs adds a visceral, emotionally grounded element to the action sequences. However, unfortunately, the Ukraine mission exacted a heavy toll on Grady. One of his K-9 partners was killed during the extraction, and the handler's reaction was raw enough to leave the audience genuinely shaken. The evidence from the premiere suggests that Grady's role extends beyond the Ukraine mission, with reports indicating his character will appear across several episodes this season. Fans believe that Grady's Delta Force background and his introduction alongside Cody's team positions him as a key figure in whatever domestic operation the Lioness team undertakes in response to Jo's blown cover. What the show appears to be building toward is a scenario where the line between military and intelligence operations dissolves entirely, with Delta Force operators working alongside CIA agents on American soil to neutralize a threat that neither the CIA nor any single agency can handle alone. Grady's presence in the series is not decoration. It is a deliberate and unmistakable signal that Season 3 is taking the show into territory that is far darker, more morally complex, and significantly more dangerous than anything the Lioness program has faced in its first 2 seasons. After everything this trailer has revealed, after all the theories and all the questions it has raised, the one question that every single fan is now focused on is the simplest and most important of all. When does this actually drop? Episode 2, No Sorrow Like the Survivor, premieres on Paramount Plus on Sunday, August 9, 2026, at 3:01 a.m. Eastern Time. The full season runs 8 episodes, matching the count from both previous seasons, with new episodes arriving every Sunday through the season finale on September 20th, 2026. The release schedule means fans have 7 more weeks of this story after Episode 2 drops, and based on the trajectory the premiere has established, Jo's cover shattered, her family in danger, multiple agencies closing in, and a kidnapping waiting at the end of the timeline, those 7 weeks are going to be the most intense the series has ever delivered. Based on what the trailer for No Sorrow Like the Survivor has shown, the fallout from one mission in Ukraine is about to reshape every relationship, every alliance, and every assumption that has defined the Lioness program since its first episode. The weight is measured in days now, and based on what this promo has revealed, every single one of those remaining days is going to feel absolutely unbearable for anyone invested in Jo's survival. Now, the conversation moves to the fans. The debates are already raging across every corner of the internet, and 3 questions need settling before Sunday arrives. Was the Ukrainian double agent who provided Yurimov's location genuinely helping the United States? Or did she deliberately set up the extraction, knowing it would expose Jo and the Lioness program to Russian retaliation? Will Neal choose to stand by Jo after witnessing the violence that her real life involves, or will No Sorrow Like the Survivor be the episode where their marriage begins to fracture under the weight of everything he has now seen? And the question that every fan of this series is asking more urgently than any other is the person who ultimately kidnaps Jo 6 months from now someone she already trusts, or is the real enemy still hidden deep in the shadows, waiting patiently to be revealed? The video on screen covers everything else fans need to know before the next episode drops.